The task form is working and adding values to the database, but we don't have any data integrity when it comes to dates. The project is a dropdown, and the filtering for integer ensures that the time is a number, but currently we accept anything in the date field. We have suggested the format we want: a 2-digit month, followed by a / and a 2-digit day, then another / and a 4-digit year. But there's nothing enforcing that format, so it's all too easy to add an invalid format whether we're trying to or not, or even an invalid date. Not all months have 31 days. So, how do we assure that the date is in the correct format and is actually a valid date? Let's jump back into Workspaces and explore one option. In tasks.php, after we've collected the user data, let's check the date variable. First, we need to get each piece of the date, so we'll use the explode function. Explode takes two parameters, a string delimiter and the string, and returns an array. So let's assign this to a variable dateMatch. We'll use explode. And first, the string delimiter. The string delimiter determines where the string is split. In the case of the date, we're going to use the /, since each piece of the date should be separated with a /. Next, we use the date for the string. Now let's var dump the dateMatch. This will show us what we have so far. Now let's go back to the browser. Let's start with a completely invalid date and just type today. When we submit the form, we see that the dateMatch is set to a single item array with the entire string as the first element. Now let's change this to put in a valid date that's just in the wrong format. This is a valid date, but not the format we want. Now we see that dateMatch is a 3-item array, with each piece of the date as a separate element. Excellent, just what we want. Now let's start writing the conditional. Let's add an else if to this conditional. Else if count dateMatch does not equal 3. Then we're going to set our error message. Invalid date. We also want to give this error if the date is not the correct format, so let's check that each piece of the array is the correct length. Or string length dateMatch 0, meaning our first element, is not equal to 2, or the string length dateMatch 1, meaning our second element is not equal to 2, and also string length dateMatch 2, our third element is not equal to 4. And finally, we want to check that the date is actually valid and that the user has not entered a day that does not exist. For example, day 31 in a month that only has 30 days. We can use the checkDate function for this. Or not checkDate. CheckDate takes 3 parameters. First, the month, which is our dateMatch 0, and then the day, dateMatch 1, and then the year, dateMatch 2. Great job! Let's take out the var dump and run some tests in the browser. When we refresh the page, we see our error for the required fields because we check for that first. So let's make sure all the fields are filled in. Now we see invalid date because the year only has 2 characters and not 4. Let's change this to 9/31. 2016. We still see invalid date because September does not have 31 days. Now let's change this to 8/31. This time our date was added because the date is valid. Great job!